Hey guys, it's Simeon. This is Pro Wrestling Unlimited as we are here on Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day 2020, to talk some pro wrestling with the Wrestling Wrap Up. If you're unaware, the Wrestling Wrap Up is, I guess you could say, a twice a week sometimes wrestling news show we do here that gives you a bunch of news stories in one condensed video. Today's co-host is Kenny from a Kenny for Your Thoughts podcast. Kenny, what's going on?
What's going on, Tim? I'm glad you had me on your Valentine's Day episode. Happy Valentine's Day. Will you be my Valentine?
Will I be your Valentine? I don't know, but hold on one second. We may have another co-host here jumping on.
Nice.
Nick, are you there? It says he's... I think I hear him. Nick, what's up?
There he is. I was gonna message you, but then instead I was like, no, I'll just call him. Do you have a co-host for this episode?
Nick, meet Kenny.
Hey, what's going on, Nick?
What the fuck is up? No, I was gonna say, if you didn't have a co-host for this episode, hello. But since you do, Kenny, have fun.
I would have let you know beforehand if I needed you.
I know, but
I'm
stoned out of my fucking cranium right now.
That works.
It's a Friday and I'm off, baby. Real quick, hello everybody in chat. I'm gonna let them do their show. Thank you guys for indulging me. Have a great day. Enjoy the show, guys.
Have a good one, Nick.
I absolutely love it. I asked you, so what it was, I asked you to be my Valentine. Nick got jealous. He jumped on. That's exactly what happened right now.
That's kind of how we work here at PW Unlimited. We just kind of at the last minute, oh, hey, let's try this. Let's do this. It's all good, though.
All good.
So,
that's why we love Pro Wrestling Unlimited.
So as far as today's show, we got a couple of topics to talk about. We got Jeff Cobb and his, I guess you could say, status with All Elite Wrestling. Shocking news this morning that Kathy Kelly is departing WWE. Undertaker and AJ Styles being I guess you could say, hot topic for a lot of fans that don't like it, and maybe a little bit more. So let's jump in with our first story here. Jeff Cobb. So if you guys saw this week on AEW Dynamite, Jeff Cobb made his debut for the company, but he's not signed with the company. Jeff Cobb is, yes, working with All Elite Wrestling, but he's not going to sign a contract. According to Dave Meltzer in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Cody actually offered Jeff Cobb a contract. Now, we don't know if he just straight up said no and turned it down, but it looks like he's not going to sign it for the simple fact of if he does, it will limit his dates with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jeff Cobb loves working New Japan. He loves going over to Japan, and he loves working with them here in the United States. I remember one time when Nick and I covered a New Japan show. I want to say it was the one in San Francisco at the Cow Palace. We talked to Jeff Cobb briefly, and he just said how he loves New Japan. And you can tell that every opportunity that they give him, he takes the most of it as far as working with New Japan. And he's still going to be working with Ring of Honor as well. He's announced for their Supercard of Honor event, WrestleMania weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how much AEW wants to do with him because he's not signing with the company yet. It's kind of their MO to just randomly do things with guys before they're even officially with the company. I mean, Marco Stunt told the story on Jericho's podcast that they used him a couple times in AEW when they first started, like at Double or Nothing, and then Fight for the Fallen and Fyter Fest. And then while they were filming some BTE stuff, Matt Jackson literally just goes, if we want to keep using Marco, we better have legal write him up a contract. And it's like, I've heard that from a number of people. That's how AEW wants to operate. And that's not, in my opinion, a smart business way of operating. And according to CM Punk, that's one of the reasons he didn't want to work with them, is because he found their, I guess you could say, negotiation tactics a little unprofessional. He literally said in an interview, I think with ESPN maybe it was, that they literally just asked him over text message if he wanted to work with them.
Wow. I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because that's exactly why people like AEW, because they're so personable and on a fan level, and it's for the boys, by the boys kind of thing. But like you said, in my point of view as well, that's just bad business because it's gonna come back to bite them in the ass one day, soon. I mean, this Jeff Cobb situation, like, you've already marketed him, you've already advertised him for next week. He's got a one-night contract. What if he does really well and then all of a sudden he's gone? He's just gone from AEW.
Exactly.
Imagine if that had happened with like a CM Punk. You know what I mean? Like imagine CM Punk shows up at Double or Nothing and then never shows up in AEW again and shows up on WWE TV the next week. That can really, really hurt AEW and the perception of AEW. So I agree with you. They should really lock these guys into some contracts. Again, I know the fans are sitting there going, no, that's what makes AEW special, but we're talking business. All is fair in love and war. And when it comes to business, you need to lock people in.
I mean, that was like when they first started the Nightmare Collective thing and they introduced the Mel character. Brandy then posted a picture of Mel herself and Kong backstage after they shaved Mel's head. And Cody literally responds to her tweet and goes, hey, did you make sure we actually signed her to a contract? Like, really?
Right. Yeah. Like, and that just makes AEW look bad, in that sense. So it's like, wow. Like, imagine if you're like, a big star reading that tweet, you'd be like, what? Like, they didn't sign this girl to a contract. They shaved her head. And what if she just doesn't show up next week?
I mean, I get using people here and there and not signing them if it's like an enhancement match. WWE does that all the time. Or if it's like,
exactly,
okay, we're going to bring this guy in. He's going to work a couple matches with so-and-so and then be done. But it's like the way they're positioning Jeff Cobb in their main event storyline. Right. It's just like you would think that they're not going to have this guy come in, have already a video package with graphics and everything created for this guy if they don't think he's going to be long-term. And that's the story we heard with Marty Scurll. Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer recently that they thought that they had Marty Scurll locked in, that they thought that Marty Scurll was going to debut on the December 18th edition of Dynamite and be the quote-unquote exalted one for the, Dark Order. And then, well, he decided, I'm not coming. And so they had to shift, and now Matt Jackson's on Instagram saying, oh, that was never the plan.
Right, and now you have to do damage control, which that's never a good thing when you have to do damage control in a wrestling company. And I mean, the very next week wasn't it, or was it that very week where they had the last episode of Dynamite for the year?
It was that one. It was supposed to be that episode,
right? And there was not good feedback about that segment. So I mean, I believe that Marty Scurll was expected to be in that segment. I mean, they literally were. They did a whole segment where they were on being the Elite, where they were signing him, but they accidentally signed Marty Jannetty, quote unquote. So I mean, I believe it. But AEW, it's again from a business aspect. I love AEW, but they really, really need to sign these guys. Jeff Cobb is in a position of power right now. He's being presented in the main event next week. Hasn't signed a contract. They're going to try to offer him more money to sign him. How much more money can you throw at guys when they're in a position of power? You know what I mean? So this is going to come back to hurt them in the long run, I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. And JR even said on his podcast this week that AEW is looking to sign bigger guys, like a Jeff Cobb, like a Lance Archer, and so forth. And so if they want bigger guys, you got to lock them in. You can't just say, oh, yeah, well, it's not like, how would you explain it? It's not like, I guess... No, because WWE doesn't... I would say it's not like bringing him in and this is his tryout on television, because WWE doesn't even do it like that. I was trying to see if there's any wrestling company we've seen recently that uses...
The indies. I guess the indies are probably a good way to, like you just bring this guy in, pay him X amount of dollars, and then throw him on, and then you may never see him again after that.
Right, but that's different because that's not national television with well thought out in advanced storylines. It's like, how long has Jeff Cobb been in this plan? Because Cody said in an interview this week with Dave Meltzer that they like to have all their top guys booked out 6 months in advance, and everybody else, like, everybody is booked a month to 6 months out, basically. He said if you're the top guy like him, Jericho, Moxley, you're booked out almost 6 months in advance. Other guys like maybe a Darby Allin, a Jimmy Havoc or so, they're booked at least a month out in advance. And so it's like, if that's the mentality of the company, I wonder how long they've had this idea to bring in Jeff Cobb. Or if this was hey, he's interested. I know he's not signed to ROH or New Japan, so we can use him. Let's bring him in this week. Was it a this week deal, or was it we've known for a month?
I think it was a last minute thing. I think it was a good faith, basically showing him like they would put him in the main event right away. That's a risk. I think the guy they really need to talk to and just in an advisor role is Jim Ross, because Jim Ross was head of talent relations.
He does
but
give, I guess you could say, advice.
But it still seems like the Elite are kind of I don't want to say it's kind of amateur hour when it comes to the office there, but it's yeah, I feel like they should involve JR, get a structure behind them more to be able to sign these guys.
Well, we do know that, according to multiple reports from many different outlets, that because of the whole the elite guys, I guess you can call them, being so inexperienced, Tony Khan has taken a little more of a leadership role in creative, like more like he was the final say, but now he's more of a, I guess you can say, how was it worded? Because I've seen it worded a different couple of ways. It's like he's taking more responsibility over creative.
Then it's not a bad thing. Everybody needs to know who they answer to. I think WCW's downfall was that you didn't know who you were supposed to go to. TNA, same thing. Even though you had Dixie Carter, you didn't really know who you were supposed to go to. Vince Russo, Dixie Carter, whoever. WWE has one guy you go to, which is Vince McMahon, and now obviously Triple H as well. But AEW needs that. They need to know. You need to go to Tony Khan to get things approved at the end of the day.
And I mean, we also heard recently Tony Khan has gone to TNT to get stuff approved. Like when MJF wore the I Bang Dallas's Daughter shirt, he went to TNT to make sure that was appropriate enough for their network.
Good. And that's good business.
Thing, I can't remember exactly what it was. There was something I want to say concerning blood that he also asked permission for. But I mean, and that leads me to my next thing about when you brought up WCW. Eric Bischoff for a long time was in charge of WCW, but the issue with that, if you listen to Bischoff's podcast, he admitted that, yeah, he was in charge of WCW, but a lot of times when he needed stuff to get approved or he needed, the budget for this to get approved and stuff, he didn't even know who to go through within Warner and TNT and all that. And so that was another downfall of WCW was, yeah, you may have had Bischoff in charge of the wrestling side of the company, but when it came to the business side, he almost didn't know half the time who to go to because he'd go to one guy and they'd go, oh, well, I got to ask my boss. And then they say, I got to ask my boss. So I mean, at least right now with AEW, we know Tony Khan's president. He's got the final say. Now
he's funding it. He's doing everything. So we know he's the guy. I mean, TNA had the same problem because everyone's going to say Dixie Carter, but it really was Panda Energy that owned TNA. So even Dixie Carter had to filter it up through her parents to get funding for things to be done. So, and even then, I mean, people have said Dixie Carter was kind of a mark for the business and would just kind of do whatever. Whereas Tony Khan, yes, he is a mark for the business. I mean, he's a huge fan of professional wrestling, but he's a businessman first and foremost. I mean, he's gained my respect that he went to TNT and cleared that shirt just because he doesn't want to hurt AEW in any way and get backlash in any way. That's a good businessman right there.
Right. I can't remember what the other thing was. There was two things that I think the other one had to do with blood, but I can't remember who bled a lot on TV recently.
I don't know. I was trying to think of that. The only person, the first person that comes to mind is Dustin Rhodes, but that was at a pay-per-view. So.
Oh yeah, that was Double or Nothing.
Yeah, but maybe it has to do with showing highlights of that. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, no, it was an angle that they just did recently. I can't remember who it was. But speaking of Double or Nothing, as we wrap up AEW talk, tickets for Double or Nothing 2020, May 23rd, go on sale in about an hour and a half. Do you think they could sell it out?
This is going to be the real test, I think, to me. This is because obviously the reason they sold out last year, I mean, it was a new company. You got, you want to put all your steam behind that. This year is going to be the real test because now, you've been on TV for a couple weeks. Have you done enough to get this pay-per-view sold out? I think they have. I think they will get this pay-per-view sold out, especially since they're going to the same venue. At the very least, people who went last year will be like, I had a good experience. I want to go again.
So, with last year's show, they actually could have sold upwards of 40,000 tickets. I don't think they're going to have the demand like that this year. But I think one thing that's going to help, because I don't think Revolution in Chicago is sold out yet. But one thing that will help Double or Nothing is it being it's in Las Vegas. And what you can say is, because we don't know if there's going to be a StarCast or not. There hasn't been a StarCast since Full Gear weekend. But the one thing you can do is, okay, I want to go to this AEW show. Do I really want to fly in for the show? Well, why not make a whole vacation out of it, go to Double or Nothing, and do other things in Las Vegas as well?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I think it was very smart to do the same venue again, because like I said, you will have people want to come back, and like you said, they could have sold 40,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Those people who were slighted last year are going to be like, no, I'm going this year. I'm 100% going this year. So you had all those people that are going to buy tickets. If I had to predict, I think this will sell out. I don't think it'll sell out in an hour.
Oh yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
not that
like
quick.
like not that quick or anything like that, but I think it eventually will sell out. Yes.
The only thing I wish is I get you want to they like the holiday weekend thing, Labor Day and Memorial Day, because it makes it seem more important. But I say get away from that, especially if you're going to go to Las Vegas, because A, Memorial Day weekend, everybody's going to want to go to Las Vegas for vacation because they got the 3-day, 4-day weekend, some people. And B, because it's a holiday, the hotels know they can upcharge, and that's another downfall is everywhere's going to be more expensive than if you were to run it, I want to say 2 weeks later or 2 weeks earlier, because I went to Vegas twice last year. I went in March for the NASCAR race, and then I went again in May for Double or Nothing. In March for the NASCAR race, yeah, they had a lot of people in town just for that NASCAR race, but it wasn't a holiday weekend, so hotels didn't upcharge. Like the hotel I stayed in, it was $99 a night. If I would have went to that same hotel Double or Nothing weekend, it was $299 a night, just because it was a holiday weekend.
Right. I
So
don't know. It's in a business aspect though, isn't kind of a good thing if the hotel prices are up. It kind of seems like there's demand. Like people will automatically assume that they need to be
I
at Double
mean,
or Nothing because everyone's trying to be there.
yes and no, but everyone should know that that's because it's a holiday weekend, not because wrestling's in town. Because they run UFC there all the time, and they don't upcharge the hotels just for UFC being there.
Right. See, we know that though. I
True.
think I'm talking about general perception. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, of course, if I'm going to Double or Nothing, that sucks. But
That's when
yeah, I
you
think
that's when you get with a
say
couple
it again.
buddies and split the fee for the hotel room.
That's right. That's when you sleep on the couch and everyone else gets the bed.
Yep.
But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to, especially with a newer company, to kind of attach themselves to a bigger weekend.
Right.
Whereas WrestleMania, for example, like WWE can just be like, oh, we'll run anywhere. But even then, WWE goes to what they feel are hot markets.
Well,
You know
they
what I mean?
literally
So they
go.
don't. Yeah.
Stephanie said it on Tuesday when they did the press conference, because Ryan sat and asked her in an interview, "Hey, why didn't you go somewhere where we haven't seen WrestleMania? Why didn't you go international?" And she goes, "It all comes down to who made the bids and who bidded as the best partner for that time." And she said that the SoFi Stadium and the Staples Center both came together on the bid and offered them just something that I guess other cities didn't offer.
There you go.
So as we
It's
move
all about
forward
business.
with as we transition from talking AEW to WWE, shocking news broke this morning. One Kathy Kelly announced her departure from WWE this Sunday after NXT TakeOver Portland. So a popular WWE backstage host and I guess you say interviewer, Kathy Kelly, announced this morning on her Instagram and Facebook the following. I've typed out and deleted this about 20 times over the past few days, still unsure of what to write. I have come to the decision to leave WWE. Sunday's NXT TakeOver being my last day. If you know me, you know this was more than a job. You know how much I loved it and how difficult this decision was. But sometimes in order to have room for growth, you have to step away. I am thankful for getting to live out a crazy dream the past 4 years. Thank you to the WWE digital team for being a platform that never stifled creativity. Thank you to Stephanie McMahon for being a mentor and inspiration in every way. Thank you to Triple H for heading up the best wrestling show currently on TV and letting me be part of it. And thank you to everyone who has supported me, whether it's watching a video I've done or sending a tweet of encouragement. Words cannot begin to express how much it means. I'm not sure yet where my next chapter will take me, but I am damn excited for it. And I promise this isn't goodbye, it's just see you later. So, if people are unaware about Kathy Kelly and where she came from, she got her first start with Maria Menounos on AfterBuzz TV. She was hosting a bunch of their WWE post shows, their Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then, well, WWE took notice as they work a lot with Maria Menounos. I'm pretty sure Maria Menounos suggested her to WWE. They gave her a tryout, and 4 years later, she's been basically the second best interview person they've had in the last decade to Renee Young.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, it's really sad that Kathy Kelly's leaving. I think she what her appeal was that she was, she's beautiful, but she's very much a girl next door, so she really appealed to the crowd much in the same way Renee Young does. And then she was just damn good at interviews. I mean, she was very much a professional. It sucks to see her leaving, but I hope she finds her happiness. Obviously, she feels like she needs something more, which I always respect when someone knows that it's time to leave. You
Right.
can tell that she could become complacent and just kind of do what she does, but she's craving something else. And I hope we see her back in WWE eventually. But maybe she her WWE contract was limiting her from other opportunities. We don't know. All speculative. We don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wish her lots of happiness.
It's like, this is such a big story, though, that if you just go on Google and type in Kathy Kelly, major media markets have picked this up, like comicbook.com, UpRocks, The Wrap, not just the wrestling websites, but like major media outlets have picked up the story of Kathy Kelly leaving WWE, which is a credit to her and how well she got her name out there and how well she got her reputation out there while being in WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, easily second only to Renee Young. I mean,
if not as equal.
Exactly. I could have seen her transition into like WWE backstage or host something like that.
Right.
She's that good. But I hope we don't see her, go far from the wrestling business. I hope she does at least do some other stuff, pop in here and there. But I'm excited to see what she does next.
Yeah, as I mean, I like Kayla Braxton on the bump, but one has to think of how long has she known she was going to leave, and could she have been tapped for that role as host of the bump instead of Kayla Braxton?
Or perhaps, I mean, all speculation, but perhaps maybe she felt like she wasn't being utilized properly in that sense. Maybe that's why she's leaving, because she felt like she deserved the WWE backstage roles or the WWE bump roles, and she wasn't getting that. She was just kind of being used to do in between segments in NXT.
Because we've seen her on the digital side of things do less and less recently, like with the whole WWE Now. They've used Mackenzie Mitchell more, they've used Matt Camp more, and we've just seen her basically since the start of the year, or since October really, just the NXT interview girl backstage. So right. We may never know. Maybe she'll talk about this once she's done with the company this weekend. How long has she known she wanted to leave, and was she slowly transitioning herself out of these different roles to, get ready for that departure? But like you said, right now all we can do is speculate until she actually talks about it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, obviously, she's still under a contract, so she's going to be very PC right now.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think she's the type of person that would like shoot as soon as her contract's done. But I think maybe we'll find out a little bit more later on.
Again, the more speculation, but I can see her doing the Lillian Garcia podcast and maybe telling the whole story there.
Yeah,
especially since that's something that's close tied with WWE, so she can go on a platform that is close with WWE, talk about her time there, and say, hey, this is why I wanted to leave. This is maybe what I'm doing next. And Lillian's a great, host of that, going back and forth with people, as we've seen in like her page interviews and all the different ones she's done.
It's very, very personable. You can tell that the guests really like just hanging out with her. So yes, that's a very good person to have the interview with. I agree with that.
So sticking on the WWE train here, we got some WrestleMania talk to talk about, and kind of an interesting matchup that I think could be good, but many fans don't want to see. It's Undertaker versus AJ Styles. So this news broke, I want to say Wednesday, by Bill Pritchard of a WrestleZone, saying that sources indicated to WrestleZone that Undertaker is slated to be taking on AJ Styles this year at WrestleMania. And I think it's a good idea, because Undertaker needs somebody, I guess you could say, that's going to carry the match in a good way. And with AJ Styles, we saw at WrestleMania 33, he was able to get a really, really, really good match out of Shane, where not many people can say that. And
right.
I know you were there, so I mean, you can give an even different perspective than I can, being there live.
Right, and going into that Mania, I mean, we talked about it briefly before we went on air. I was telling people that has potential to be match of the night. Now, people were looking at me like I had two heads. They were like, how is Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles going to be any good? And I said, okay, Y'all need to give Shane McMahon more credit than that. When he's in there with a good worker, he can have a good match. And AJ Styles might be the best worker of this generation. He's easily the Shawn Michaels of this generation.
Right.
So that being said, AJ is a ring general. You can trust him to do that. And like I told people, that was match of the night. I think arguably a lot of people would say that is match of the night from WrestleMania 33. That being